Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about Solana because Solana's obviously seen a massive day of volatility or two. We've seen this basically throughout the entire crypto market. I want to talk a little bit about Solana specifically just because I think, at least so far, I would say in this crypto cycle, Solana's been kind of one of the shining stars. And so Solana is one that I like to focus on particularly when we see like some of these like more larger pullbacks to see, just kind of get a gauge of the overall ecosystem. Obviously Solana is having a lot of success within their ecosystem as well. I would say it's probably held up the strongest of any of like the altcoin ecosystems, which is pretty interesting to see. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We're also going to be going over just a super quick like market overview, what we've seen over the past 24 to 48 hours. Spoiler alert, wild stuff. And then we're going to see like where do we go from here on Solana. All right, so that's what we're going to go through today. Starting out though, I did want to just get into crypto bubbles because we can see obviously a pretty nice bounce on the day. But again, don't be fooled. If we look at the week, just getting absolutely clobbered here. 20 to 30% kind of wholesale down on the entire market. We can see Ethereum down 15% here. We can see ADA down 20%, Fartcoin down 25%, Virtuals 30%, Fetch 26%, Solana 13%. Just a whole bunch down everywhere. You could see it. I don't have to call them all out, but it's pretty crazy. And if we do look at the market overview, we can see 24-hour liquidations here at $550 million, and that's down 75% from yesterday. So truly wild stuff that we have going on here. That I think, because yesterday I think it was 2.2 billion if I remember correctly. I do have a video on it yesterday if you want to go check that out. But that's like 2.2 billion liquidated in a 24-hour time span. I think is like by far the largest liquidation event I've seen. That is a truly massive amount of money. And so obviously the market kind of licking its wounds a little bit. We can see right here just barely back above into week 30 is kind of the cutoff there, and we're at 30.26. But as we can see, the overall market very, very much into the weak and oversold territory. If we look at open interest for Bitcoin specifically, still hovering close to all-time highs. So that's looking pretty good. One of the things that's a little bit shocking to me is we are seeing the crypto fear and greed index back in greed already. Yesterday we were seeing it like a 44, and now it's all the way up at a 72, which is a pretty dramatic move. The fear and greed index is moving like the market. It's like 20 to 30% every single day, which is kind of nuts. We can also see on the liquidation map, again, this is focused on Bitcoin specifically, but since it's got the deepest liquidity, I think that makes the most sense. We can see, kind of evened out overall. I think this is primarily because we saw shorts get clobbered, or we saw longs get clobbered, and then we kind of saw shorts get clobbered on the way back up. We can see something kind of similar here. Definitely a little bit more of a bias towards moving to the upside to liquidate shorts, just because it hasn't moved kind of back to the upside as much as it moved to the downside. So we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. Obviously, the market not in a particularly strong place, but we have been seeing a little bit of some recovery here. And if we do look at the Solana chart, we can see exactly that, right? Obviously, this is the Solana chart that I've been following for quite a while now. We'll kind of pull these out just to get a little bit better context of what we're looking into here. We can see that this liquidation wick actually did drop all the way back down into this liquidity zone that we have been talking about for a while now. We did kind of bounce back up into this upper liquidity zone, but hadn't actually really seen anything of value actually falling back out of it right now. Hard to say for sure. I think we probably pull back up into this liquidity zone, or maybe actually come bounce off of this level of support here. Hard to say for certain with where we're at right now, but we can see the RSI on Solana actually pretty decent compared to the market average. Again, the market average just being barely over 30, Solana sitting at about 42. So, this type of pullback actually was not as bad as what we've seen from a lot of others. So, pretty good over there. However, that said, especially at the wick down here, getting close to kind of giving back all the gains that we did see kind of before this like post-election pump that we did see. So obviously, Solana not holding up particularly well, but also Solana was one of the coins that didn't do kind of as well as the rest of the crypto market. And part of that is because of this, right? Look at what we're seeing here. Absolutely astounding run to the upside before really kind of anything else did it. Solana has been kind of the shining star. So the fact that, we haven't seen it go too crazy at this point in time, I think we can give it a break. It's the one that kind of brought the crypto market back to life a little bit to some extent. Obviously, Solana has been very, very popular. We've seen a lot of really interesting things with, Pump.fun and meme coins, and a lot of projects migrating to Solana. The Solana tech actually making, I would say, some pretty decent strides. I wouldn't say like, it's not anywhere close to where it kind of needs to be for mass adoption of crypto, but it is getting there. Things are getting better. So, but what we can see here is a couple of different things. Obviously, as we talk about very frequently on the channel here, we did see this fall outside of the Bollinger Bands. I would imagine at that point in time, it was actually probably pretty close down to like probably 30-ish range. And so the fact that like we saw this kind of pull back up, this is kind of what we expect, right? Usually when we pull outside of the Bollinger Bands like this, we will see a kind of a pullback to the inside, and it, ended up working out that way. So, obviously that's looking pretty good. We are still kind of at the very, very bottom of the Bollinger Band. So there is maybe potentially some moves to the upside that we could see, or the Bollinger Bands are going to kind of continue down, and then we're going to maybe see some room further to the downside here. But overall, if you are interested in trading, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything like that, I do have that link to BTCC in the description below. They are doing that 10% bonus on first time deposits if that's something that you are interested in. They also have extra bonuses up to $10,055 per user. So they're willing to throw a whole bunch of money at you to come and trade with them if that is something that you're interested in. Also, no VPN or KYC necessary if that is something that's important to you. So like I said, just check the link in the description below if you are interested. Obviously not financial advice, make your own decisions, all that good type of stuff. But I did want to move on to DeFi Llama, check out Solana, kind of see what we're looking at here, because overall I would say the fundamental like on-chain stats of Solana are pretty good overall. So if we look here, we'll actually kind of zoom in a bit. We can see still holding above kind of previous all-time highs. I think just barely. This 10.3 all-time highs here is, what is this, like 9.9. So only just barely holding above all-time highs, but nevertheless holding above all-time highs. So we can see we did see that really, really nice pump to the upside here on TVL. Kind of been ebbing away a little bit. A lot of this was just due to the kind of the Trump coin mania. Much of that has subsided at this point, but we can see, the volume on chain looking really, really nice. Anywhere between, the last handful of days, anywhere between like 6 to, almost $9 billion, so looking really, really nice there. I think what we're seeing here on Solana is actually looking pretty promising. Of course, stablecoin market cap, if we actually pull this one in here, we can see stablecoin market cap looking really, really nice. May take a second to load up. Yeah, here we go. Look at that. That is ridiculous. That's like almost straight to the upside. That's not even like a slope. That's just like a straight wall. Really crazy stuff, because we could see here, what is this, $6 billion sitting here on stable coins, going down very, very low, just to about 1.4 to 1.5 billion. This is kind of in like the depths of the bear market. Even if we look at volume, volume absolutely atrocious down here. But now we're seeing orders of magnitude more volume. And if we look, look at this. We went from basically like $6 billion in stablecoin market cap to about, what are we at now? Almost 12. So basically stablecoins on Solana have almost doubled in about 2 weeks. Wild stuff. That is completely crazy. So anyway, that's something that's very, very interesting to see. As I've mentioned in several different videos, I really do kind of look at stablecoins on chain as a somewhat indirect version of the health of the chain, because essentially my theory or my thought here is, if people are willing to keep their money on Solana, there must be stuff to do there, right? And I think that's pretty fair to say. There's a lot of stuff to do on Solana. Same type of thing with like Ethereum. There's so much stable coins on Solana because there's stuff to do there. And so, or Ethereum, excuse me. But I think we're seeing exactly the same thing with Solana. And this is one thing, like, when I have the Sui videos, if you've ever watched any of the Sui videos that I've made, we talk about that a lot for Sui's, because even though Sui started to see some TVL growth, we haven't really seen too impressive of a stablecoin growth, which is kind of one of the counterpoints as to why Sui may not be is particularly strong as some people might think it is. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. Obviously, it's very, very clear to see. Volume looking really good, stablecoin looking fantastic, TVL looking pretty good. Things on Solana looking really, really nice so far. So overall, I'm pretty happy with what we're seeing out of Solana. Hopefully you did actually see, the major dip in the market yesterday. Like I've said, Solana's been kind of a stalwart in the crypto market. And so the fact that we saw such a discount on Solana, I personally was very happy to see that. I went in, I actually DCA'd on my Solana bags. I DCA'd on my Ethereum bags. I went pretty heavy on ICP just because I am kind of an ICP bull. But again, that's not the point of this video. But whenever we see stuff like this, I'm always super, super interested in getting in. Obviously, maybe there is a world in which the world could have fallen apart and everybody's tariffing each other and the economy collapses. I wasn't really buying into that narrative. Obviously, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of selling, a lot of things like that. Liquidation obviously plays a part in that too. Tons of liquidation wiped from the market over the past couple of days. I mean, I think there's $3.5 billion of liquidation wiped over the past 3 days. That's crazy. That's an absolutely insane amount of leverage. And so I do think, there's been a very, very hefty chunk of leverage wiped out of the ecosystem, which I do think is healthy for us as we kind of progress into this longer term possible bull run in alt season, all that type of stuff. I personally think that is still very much on the table. A lot of the fear that we're seeing here, a lot of the FUD, all this, it's over, come back. That's exactly what we want to see, right? If everybody's expecting altcoin season, that means it's probably not going to happen, right? So seeing all this fear, all this uncertainty, people selling, getting out, capitulating, all this, perfect. That's exactly what I want to see. And hopefully, you're kind of understanding my point here as to why that could be the case. So, I'm feeling pretty good about what we're seeing right now. I think we got a gift, honestly, guys. I mean, the prices for what we've seen out of a lot of alts, Bitcoin, Solana, I mean, it's entirely possible. I don't totally believe this. I think we'll probably see lower prices at the very depths of next bear market, but it's entirely possible that we potentially never see $100,000 Bitcoin or sub $100,000 Bitcoin ever again. Now, I just want to dive back into the Solana chart really quick and take a quick look at kind of what we're seeing here, right? Now, obviously, we saw this really nice pullback here down to 175. I mean, this is the point at which, we may potentially never see Solana hit sub 200 again. I don't truly necessarily believe that, but it's possible, I suppose, right? But again, kind of going back at the next part that I want to take a look at is what could we see potentially out of Solana? Again, not financial advice. You need to make your own decisions here of kind of what makes sense for you, a lot of that type of stuff. I'm operating under the assumption and the prediction that we will actually, in fact, see an alt season. If we don't see an alt season and we've topped and all that type of fun stuff, then obviously, much of this is basically all of it's a moot point. But I do think that we will see an alt season come back. I think a lot of what we've seen so far is fundamentally highly, highly bullish, and there's no reason for us not to see an alt season. So going in, let's just take a quick look at what we're seeing here on the fib levels. So we're essentially taking the most recent fib levels we saw, essentially a recent all-time high here. And then this is essentially the swing low. We could always go lower, but at least for right now, this is kind of that nasty liquidation wick that we've seen. And this is what we're going for in terms of the fib levels. So the first one, obviously getting back to 1 is the first step, and that's at 295. Then if we look at extensions, we got 1618 at 368, 2618 at 487, and 3618 here at 606. Now, in my opinion, just based on how we've seen Solana perform, and again, another disclaimer, past performance is not any sort of indicator of future gains. You always have to remember that. But given the strength that we've seen from Solana, the fundamental bullishness we're seeing within the Solana ecosystem, all of this type of stuff, I'm very, very bullish on what we could see out of Solana kind of going into the next year. And so looking here, what we can see, 1618 at that $368 mark, I think this is very, very doable. I'm not going to say likely, but I think it's highly possible, right? 487 at the 2618 range. I do think this is doable. I'm not going to say it's likely, but I would say it's, again, possible, maybe not very possible. And then here the 3618 hitting that $600 mark. This is something I do think is very much doable, because $600 would put us at about a $300 billion-ish market cap roughly. And I think that's fair, right? That's not even hitting what Ethereum has been at, kind of its recent tops. I don't even know what Ethereum's market cap is right now that it's fallen down. It may be close to 300 billion. So if we were to hit this $600 mark on Solana, that could essentially be what Ethereum's sitting at. We'll just call it right now. It's probably close enough. This is something that I think is really very doable, right? I mean, a lot of the attention's on Solana, the fees are on Solana, the volume's on Solana, stable coins are moving to Solana. Obviously, ETH still has a lot of the TVL. They've got the first mover advantage. They've got a lot of the old money, so to speak, in terms of crypto. But Solana's getting there, right? And so I do think there's a very, very strong argument to be made for Solana that it could actually do very, very well, and we could see that $600 price prediction potentially. Again, nobody knows for sure, but I am very, very interested to kind of see how the rest of this market unfolds. I personally am super glad that I was able to pick up some discounted Solana over the weekend. Really, really, very fortunate. I wasn't sure that we would see prices like that, so I'm very happy that we were able to get in a little bit. Obviously, you got to make your own decision in terms of what you're doing, but hopefully you did find the information in this video useful, particularly about what we could potentially see going on, kind of going forward from here. So I am interested. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts, comments, feedback on that type of stuff. And also, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, just drop them in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to everything that you guys send me. So if you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.